Okay.
Suleiman, mute me, no? मुझे कुछ पूछना है तुम्हें, म्यूट करो मुझे कुछ पूछना है तुम्हें।
ऑटो रोटेट ऑफ रखेंगे।
Suleiman.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. To begin the session, I would like to call Dr. Kalimullah Hussaini to recite the Quran Sharif. Sir, please.
Okay.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد. هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ. من خشي الرحمن بالغيب بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام. ذلك يوم الخلود. صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our beloved principal, Dr. A.N. Chatterjee, to inaugural speech. Sir, please.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Myself, Dr. A.N. Chatterjee, Principal, Anjuman-E-Islam Science College.
Good morning.
And PG Studies in English, Vijayapur, Karnataka State, India. Guest of speaker, Professor M. Maheen, Head, History Department, Anjuman College, Belgavi, and my esteemed colleagues and my all participants. I heartily welcome you all for this August gathering. I'm honored to be here among you on the occasion of the World Human Rights Day. We have gathered to commemorate a momentous day in human history. It was on 10th December in 1948, the whole humankind formally recognized that all of us are equal. I'm glad to see the way the National Human Rights Commission leads the country in celebrating the day and spreading the awareness about the human rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, covers a wide range of social, economic, cultural, and civil and political rights. They include the right to equality, freedom from discrimination, right of life, liberty, and personal security, freedom from slavery, and freedom from torture, among others. The UDHR states all human beings have dignity and rights. Mrs. Roosevelt, the wife of the former United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt, was later called the First Lady of the world for her contribution to the cause of human rights. I think we can do more to commemorate the vision of bin Mehta in the field of human rights and gender equality. We can make a beginning by asking ourselves if we, as a society, have lived up to the vision of equal rights and equal dignity of women. Unfortunately, a series of events in the recent past force us to think again. Incidents of heinous crime against women are reported from many parts of the country. This is not limited to one place or one nation. In many parts of the world, human rights of those who are weak are openly violated. Thus, the ideal way to commemorate the World Human Rights Day is for the whole world to instruct we need to do to live up to the letter and spirit of the sacred text of declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, along with such introspection, we should also undertake the task of reinterpreting the document and expanding the notion of human rights. All we need are empathy and imagination. I have in mind, for example, children and forced laborers. Of course, these issues deserve urgent attention to make a harmonious society compliant of the Human Rights Charter. There are challenges ahead, but I am confident we can meet them because we have an ever vigilant National Human Rights Commission. The Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 led to the establishment of the national and state level bodies for the safeguarding and promoting human rights. The effective strengthening of the human rights, at the ground level, is, I believe, a collective task of the whole society. In this regard, the NHRC has done well in spreading awareness and joining hands with civil society to further the cause. On the occasion of World Human Rights Day, it is my pleasure to congratulate the chairperson of the NHRC, its members, and special reporters and special monitors. I extend my best wishes also to all state level rights commissions and their heads and members. We pay tribute them as we enter a new millennium. Let's join hands as a partners for the equity, peace, and prosperity. Thank you, one and all. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inaugural speech. Now I request Dr. Ruqayya Hashmi to introduce our today's chief guest. Madam, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The idea of human rights is that the individual counts, independent of and in addition to his or her part in the common good. A very pleasant morning to everyone present here. On the occasion of International Human Rights Day, I deem it my privilege to introduce you to our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Maheen. During his 30 years of work in the field of history, Professor Maheen has worked in various capacities as a counselor for Master of Arts program at IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University Study Center at Rani Parvati Devi College, Belagavi. Also served as a visiting professor of history in different colleges of Belgaum. He is a co-op member, Board of Studies in History of Lingaraj College, Autonomous College from the year 2008. He rendered his services as NAC coordinator from 2003 to 2010. He is the IQAC coordinator of Anjuman Degree College, Belgaum since 2010. Professor Maheen is a nodal officer for All India Survey for Higher Education from 2011 till date. He is a life member of South Indian History Congress, Madurai, member of Indian History Congress, Aligarh, life member of Indian National Trust and Cultural Heritage, New Delhi, coordinator of Anjuman College Heritage Club, Belgaum. Aside from his talents and advocacies, Professor Maheen has delivered various lectures as resource person. He has presented and published papers in national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. On a final note, he is also a fascinating individual, and we are grateful for his presence among us today. Without further ado, I invite Professor Maheen to address the audience. Over to you, sir. Professor M. Maheen, sir. Am I audible, sir? Maheen, sir. Am I audible?
Suleiman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guess is not appearing on the screen.
I think there is a network problem, sir.
Network issues.
Professor Maheen, sir.
He's facing some problem.
Yes, can you hear, sir? Yes, Maheen, sir.
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Please, sir, proceed.
थोड़ा डिस्कनेक्ट हुआ था अभी कनेक्ट हो गया.
नहीं sir.
Shall I start?
Yes, sir. Please.
You bring him on the screen.
Okay. Can I start?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I start?
Suleiman, screen पे नहीं आ रहा है.
Okay. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Very good morning, sir. Please proceed, sir.
You are hearing my voice, Good morning,
yes,
and Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum assalam.
At the outset, I would like to thank Principal of Anjuman Degree College, Vijayapur, Dr. A.N. Chatterjee, then Dr. A.M. Gadial, the IQAC coordinator, and Dr. Rukia Hashmi, the program coordinator, and our technical assistant, and others who are involved in this program. I feel I am lucky enough to be the part of this program, which is being organized by Anjuman Degree College, Vijayapur, because this college is the mother institution of our Anjuman College in Belgaum. Both the Anjuman colleges at Vijayapur and Belgaum have been established by the esteemed Anjuman-E-Islam Vijayapur. I extend my sincere thanks to the Anjuman-E-Islam Vijayapur management for their immense contribution towards the education of downtrodden and the minority communities. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Dr. A. Imaratwale. Once he was the head of the Department of History in our college, for his support towards my academic activities. At this moment, I would like to greet all of you a happy International Human Rights Day. So already our the president of the session, the principal, Dr. Chatterjee, he mentioned in his speech, it was 10th December, the entire world celebrating or observing the World Human Rights Day, because it was on 10th December, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at Paris in France in the year 1948. To commemorate the event of adopting the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, the UNO made it 10th December as the International Human Rights Day in the year 1950. Since 70 years, the entire world celebrates Human Rights Day on 10th December, except South Africa. So I would like to mention here, South Africa observe its Human Rights Day on March 21st for their own political reason. The Universal Declaration of the Human Rights is considered a foundational text in the history of human rights and civil rights. It consists of 30 articles which detailing an individual basic rights and fundamental freedoms. The UDHR commits nations to recognize all humans as being born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of nationality, place of residence, gender, ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. Friends, the adoption of Universal Declaration of the Human Rights on 10th December 1948 is the milestone in the promotion of the human rights in the world. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights is the most translated document in the world. As on today, it has been translated into 524 languages. No any other documents has this status. As a book, the Bible is considered translated into the highest number of the languages, but as a document, the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights is the most translated document in the world. I feel today is the right time for every human being to read and understand the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. Then only we can realize what are our rights and how we are exploited by our own states or governments. Just I would like to read out some important articles of UDHR here. The Article 1, or the first article, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and right, and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. So in the first article itself, of this declaration, Universal Declaration, speaks about the brotherhood. My dear friends, all of you know that what is going on in our country and in the entire world. So instead of uniting the people, some of the organization and political parties, they are dividing the people in the name of religion. Where is the spirit of the brotherhood? So I would like to mention here, so many organizations and political parties, they are violating the first article of the Universal Declaration of the Human Right itself. The Article 2, everyone is essential to all the rights and freedom set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as the race, color, sex, language, religion, political and other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or other status. So here in the the second article of that declaration wants to unite the people without the discrimination of anything of their personal matter. It may be the religion, or it may be the language, or it may be their color, or whatever may be. But it is, but the things are going reverse in the world level, and particularly in our country also. Then the Article 3, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security as a person. So as a person, we have the right to life, the liberty, and the security. But all of you know that even the people, a particular section of the people, they are fearing to travel all the parts of the India at present. The people are having the fear because there is no security for their life. Then the Article 4, no one shall be held in slavery. The slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. But what is the reality? Even at present, in many remote places, the evil system of the bond labor exists in India. So many times we read in the newspaper, so the government released many of the bond laborers from the companies and many factories. So that is also the violation of this Universal Declaration. Then the Article 5, no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or the punishment. So this, the fifth article says that no one should be subjected to the torture and cruel. But in the reality, what is happening in the police stations? What is happening in the police station? It is the recent examples I would like to quote here. In one place in Tamil Nadu that is called Kumbakonam, I think so. So there, one father and son were tortured to death. It is a few months back only it was happened. So we are, the state itself is violating the Article 5 of this Universal Declaration. The Article 6, everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. All are equal in front of law. That is guaranteed by the Article 6. Then Article 7, all are equal before the law, and all are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. So without any discrimination, so we have to get the protection from the law. So that is guaranteed by the Article 7. The Article 8, everyone has the right to effective remedy by the competent national tribunals. Tribunal means here the court for acts violation the fundamental rights guaranteed him by the Constitution or by law. So what this Article 8 says, that our own constitution or our own law made by our lawmakers, if it affects our human rights, we can go to the court. The competent national tribunal means it is a competent national court should guarantee our human rights, even if our government or our constitution affect our human rights. The Article 9, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, and exile. The arbitrary arrest should not be made. So this Universal Declaration is giving the guarantee to us, but the things are not happening. The things are very worst in the different part of the country. And the Article 10, everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal or in the court in the determination of his, her right and the obligation and of any criminal charges against him. So if they are making any criminal charges against any citizen, and it must be a public hearing by an independent and impartial court. So nowadays that is also affected. In the court also, the people are not getting a clear judgment, or the injustice are made for many people. So there are many articles, the Article 11, the Article 12, the many articles, it was speaking about the human rights. Article 13, everyone has the right to the freedom of movement and residence within the border and every state. And every state and the entire country, we can travel without any fear. So that is our right, but that is also affected. And Article 14, everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from the persecution. And Article 15, everyone has the right to a nationality. So what they are telling, the Article 15, everyone has the right to a nationality. No one should be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality or denied the right to change his nationality. So here it speaks about the nationality, but is what is going on here. The state itself, the government itself is making the question about the nationality, the credential of the nationality of the citizen. And they wanted to take the revenge against their own citizen. So that is the pathetic condition of today's the political situation. And Article 17, everyone has the right to own the property alone as well as in the associations with others. No one should be arbitrarily deprived of his the property. The property right also guaranteed in the Article 17. And it is very important, the Article 18, everyone has the right to freedom of thought, consciousness, and the religion. This right includes the freedom to change his religion or belief, and the freedom either alone or in community with others, and in public or the private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observation. This right is totally affected by the attitudes of the government. They are passing the law. They wanted to ban the conversion in the country. So this is totally against the Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. It is guaranteed for the conversion. It is guaranteed for following any religion of their citizens' choice. But here, the state government passing the laws to ban the religious conversion. The Article 19, everyone has the right to the freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes the freedom to hold the opinion without interference and to seek, receive, and impart the information and ideas through any media and regardless of the frontiers. So here also there is a problem. The people were beaten for expressing their opinion. The people were arrested and jailed for the same reason, for expression of their opinion. The Article 20, everyone has the right to the freedom of peaceful assembly and association. No one may be compelled to belong to any association. So like that, there are many articles are there. So now I would like to go the other part of my speech. So here all the articles, the 30 articles are there, and each and every one, I am requesting our beloved students, you must read the articles, the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights by the UNO, because then only you can understand what are our human rights and how our human rights are, how our governments are violating that human rights. Then only you can identify the people, those who are working against the human rights. The anti-human rights people must be identified by the young generation, the young people. Then only we can enjoy the real freedom. We can enjoy the real freedom. As a history faculty, I would like to say here a few aspects of the historical perspectives of the human rights also. Dear friends, the human rights had been widely used internationally in the last quarter of 20th century. But much before that, the concept of the human rights originated in the 6th century BC itself. Right from the Cyrus cylinder in the year 539 BC, which is known as the first charter of the human rights in the world, and other documents like Magna Carta in the year 1250, the Petition of Right in the year 1628, the US Constitution in the year 1787, the French Declaration of the Rights of the Man in the year 1789, and the US Bill of Rights in the year 1791, etc., are the most important legal documents in the development of the human rights movement. When we talk about the human rights, we can approach this with two aspects. One is the human right education, and another one is the human right issues. So in my talk, I am going to highlight something about this human right education. I feel it is the need of we have to educate our young generation, and we have to educate the general public regarding the human rights education. The human rights education is educating the people, educating the people regarding the human rights. Dear friends, the human right issues are not arising between the human being and animals. It is not between the human beings and the nature. It is the issue among us. The human right issues or human right violations are happening between the human being only, So the human right advocates unanimously agree that the human rights violations and abuses exist in every parts of the world. Every parts of the world, this violation is happening. There is no doubt at all. There is no dispute among the scholars. So almost all the people, the human rights advocates, they are unanimously accepted that these human rights violations and abuses exist in every part of the world. If it takes place in the countries where the monarchy and anarchy rule, we can understand why it is. But it is surprising to note that the most of the human rights violation and abuses takes place in the countries where the democratic form of the government exists. That is the problem. Here, the government institution is of the people, by the people, and for the people. The democratic government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Still, the human rights issues are rapidly growing day by day. The reason is clear that our society became corrupt in all aspects. So we cannot only blame the government, but at the simultaneously, the public also, they became the corrupt in all aspects. The corruption does not only means the bribery and the fraudulent in the money matter. It is dishonest. Once again, I have to say that the corruption, what I mean here, it is a dishonest, misconduct, malpractices in all levels. We socially and culturally became corrupt. It is high time to change. We will bring that change through the human right education. So the human right education should be made compulsory in educational curriculum and spread it among the other stakeholders also. Friends, the human right education is very much essential, as it is a tool for eliminating the human rights violations and human right abuses. The human right education is very much essential, as it is a tool for eliminating the human rights violations and the human right abuses. In spite of many human rights institutions and organizations, the human rights courses in the colleges and universities, conferences and seminars like this to educate the general public, still the knowledge of the human rights among the general public, including formally educated men, women, and youth, not reached to the expected level. Still the people are having a much knowledge about the human rights. That has to be done through this human right education. If you ask any general public, what are the human rights? They would tell you only a freedom of faith and speech, and perhaps one or two other rights also. There's no doubt the freedom of faith, the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech are the important right, but the full knowledge and the scope of human rights is very broad. So it is necessary to educate the general public about the human rights. Hence, we should very serious about the human rights education. Human rights education is the teaching of the history of the human rights. Now, I wanted to tell you what is this human rights education. The human rights education is the teaching of the history of the human rights, the human rights theories, and the laws of the human rights in educational institution, as well as outreach to the general public. So we have to educate the people about the human rights and its theories, its laws, and its history also. You may be aware of that the human rights education became an official central concern internationally after the World Conference on Human Rights held in the year 1993 in Vienna. The conference brought to the attention of the United Nations about the educating the people formally on human rights. It was 2 years later, the United Nations approved the decade of the human rights education. Since then, the incorporation of the human rights education into the formal schools curriculum has been developed. The government, the non-government organization, and the individuals educated to spread the topic human rights education through the formal human rights in the first step. So here, the government, non-governmental organizations, and the individuals dedicated to the spread to the topic human rights education through the formal educational institutions, believing that learning about the human rights is the first step towards respecting, promoting, and defending those rights. So educating the general public, particularly the youth, about the human rights is the need of ours, as a human rights violations and abuses are escalating everywhere in the world, never before. Dear friends, human rights education is about me and you, and our ability to recognize and respect each other's rights and responsibilities. So the programs like this should be conducted by every educational institution and the NGOs, more in number, to cover widely the general public, especially the youth. Why I quoted the youth? Because generally the youth will respond to the issues emotionally, not rationally. When they are emotionally, they are reacting to the human rights abuses. They are facing a lot of problem. Many youths were arrested and they were kept in the jail without trial for many years. So that is why the youth should not react to the human rights abuses emotionally. They should not face it emotionally. They have to face it rationally. How to deal the government or any authorities, those who are abusing the human rights. The human rights education is nothing but the moral education. It speaks about the morality. It teaches what is right and what is wrong. It will mold our character and produce our youth a wonderful human being. When we talk about our rights, we should not forget our responsibilities also. It is our responsibility to mold our youth's character. If we are creating a wonderful youth, these youths are going to be the future government or the government officers. So that is why in the basic level only, in the schools and the colleges only, and we have to teach the morality, we have to teach the values of the life to our students. Friends, I would like to underline here the importance of the human rights to education or right to education. Education is the fundamental human rights and the essential for exercise all other human rights. I would like to say again, education is a fundamental human right and essential for exercise all other human rights. It promotes the individual freedom and empowerment and yield important development benefits. Education is a powerful tool by which economically and socially marginalized adults and children can lift themselves out of the poverty and participate as a citizen, as a good citizen. Our right to education is protected by the Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. The article says that everyone has the right to get education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and the fundamental stages, and the elementary education shall be compulsory. Further, the role of educational institution is very important to implement the human right education. The educational institution, it may be schools or colleges, or it may be the technical institution or a medical institution, whatever may be it. The role of all educational institution is very important to implement the human right education. Every child and its parents look towards the schools and colleges with full of hopes, because they believe their children's future lies with the educational institution. It is the only hope for the children. It is the only hope for the parents, and they are believing 100% the educational institutions. The society also expects much from the educational institutions. It requires the educational institution to ensure that children are enabled to develop a respect for their own culture, identity, cultural identity, the language and values, and for the culture, language and values of others also. Here, that is the problem. So we are teaching our children about our identity, our cultural identity, our language and our values, but we are not telling about the others' identity and others' language and others' values also. So this can be done through the human rights culture. The educational institution cannot run away from this responsibility. The social reformers from Maharashtra, Justice Mahadev Renade, said that we cannot have a good economic system. We cannot have a good economic system when our social arrangements are imperfect. We cannot have a good economic system when our social arrangements are imperfect. If our religious ideas are low and dull, we cannot succeed in social, economic, and political spheres. This interdependency is not an accident, it is the law of nature. Friends, the Renade said very clearly in the 19th century itself that wrong religious ideas will collapse the entire socio-economic and political system of any country. It is unfortunate to say that it is vigorously happening in India in the recent years. Our principal also, he quoted in his speech about the recent years incidents throughout our country. The anti-human rights groups, I would like to call them anti-human rights groups, are questioning about the citizens' religious faith, their food habits, and even their choice of marriage. These anti-human rights groups are entering the houses of the people. Even they are entering the kitchen of the people, and what they are cooking and what they are kept in their refrigerator. On the basis of that, they beaten the people, and many people were killed in our country. It is a shame to shame. It is a very shame to say as a citizen. So the concept of one nation, one language, and one religion will definitely destroy the very fundamental rights of the human being. Hence, the human right education must be given to the students for identifying the enemies of the human rights, and those enemies must be eliminated from the political sphere. Then only we can bring a peaceful social, economical, and political environment to take our nation into the path of development. Dear friends, the human rights violations and abuses in the different forms like child labor, ragging on campuses, sexual harassments in working places, and even in the public places. Even in the public places, the sexual harassments are taking place. Caste bias and religious prejudice, etc., make us to see the future with fear. The citizens, they are having the fear in the mind, and they are seeing the future with fear. If you ask the question, who is responsible for? Is responsible for these human right violations and abuses for some extent. For some, I am not telling the entire things. As a teacher, it is in our hand. The life of the students or the youths are in our hand. So that is why I am telling that. So we have to give the moral education to the youth. So that is why it is my opinion, it is my humble opinion, that the immoral personal character of the human being is responsible for this human rights violation and abuses for some extent. So it is our responsibility to mold our students with the moral character. It is our responsibility. It is the responsibility of the teachers to mold our children with the moral character. Dear friends, all of you know that the home is the first school of every child, and the school is the second home of the same child. Parents are the first teachers, and teachers are the second parents. Normally, every man spend his or her first 20 years of life in the homes and schools or the educational institutions. This period shapes one's character and decides his or her future. We sincerely and vigorously practice the education and the religion upon our children, but why we did not, with the same spirit, not practicing the morality? We are forcing them and we are compelling them to get the good education, and the religious education also we are giving, but at the same time we don't have that much spirit to practicing the morality, ethics and values upon our children. It is fact that we failed to monitor the gravity of our children's response to the morality, ethics and values, which are the main component for practicing the human rights in the society. It is my humble argument that if we teach and practice the human rights education to our children sincerely and seriously, so again I will quote, if we teach and practice the human rights and education to our children sincerely and seriously, it creates a good citizen with morality, ethics and values. Today's children, previously before that also I have mentioned, today's children are the students are tomorrow's police officers, tomorrow's judicial officers and the military personnel. If good military, good judiciary and good police department comes into exist, the work and the struggle of the human rights organization and activities will come down substantially. It come down. They don't have much effort to fight against the government. If we get the good police officers, we get the good judicial system, and we have get good military personnel. Because generally, all of you know that the military is violating the human rights, the police is violating the human rights, and the judiciary also sometimes it is violating the human rights. So that is why if we are creating the people, and if the present students, the present youth, they are the future citizen and the future police officers, future judicial officers and future military officers. So it is my humble request, it is the responsibility of the teachers of all the educational institutions. They have to educate our students, our youth about the human rights matters. No matter how we look, where we are born, what faith or what religion we follow, whether we are rich or poor, but there is one thing we all share or common, it is the human rights. So it is my humble request, let us continuously work for spreading the human rights knowledge to eradicate the human rights violation for the happy and peaceful life. With these words, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir, for your speech. Very informative and wonderful. Now, I request.
Thank you very much.
Now, I request Dr. Ruqayya R. Hashmi to propose vote of thanks. Madam, please.
A right denied was a maxim by Martin Luther King Jr. As it is also a legal maxim, justice delayed is justice denied. Education should not only address the skills and knowledge but also the values and ethics of each human being. Education is the pathway for the progress of any nation. It is through proper education an individual gets aware about his rights and duties. It has potential to inculcate and imbibe human rights values. It is through education human rights are actually put into practice. Human rights are inherent to every person of the society by virtue of being human. It is one of the basic rights for survival. I deem it an honor to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty Allah for making today's occasion a resounding success. I thank our guest speaker, Professor Muhammad Maheen, Associate Professor of History, Anjuman Arts and Commerce College, Belgavi, who enlightened the audience with valuable contribution of his thoughts. Sir, we thank you on behalf of our college and management and staff. I thank Dr. Imarat Wale, Professor of History, Anjuman Arts Science, Commerce College, Vijayapur, for his able guidance, kindness, interest, and continued support. My heartfelt thanks to our well-wisher, Dr. A.N. Chatterjee, Principal of our college, for his unstinted support and encouragement. I owe special gratitude to Suleiman Hattarkihal, who has rendered technical assistance in making this event glitch-free. I also thank Maulana Dr. Syed Kalimullah for initiating the occasion with the beautiful words of the Holy Quran. I thank all the distinguished invitees present here, accepting our invitation, and all good hearts who work behind the screen. Finally, I leave you these words of encouragement by Bob Marley, who is a Jamaican singer. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much. I again extend my thanks to our technical assistant. Can I hear your name? I forget. Technical assistant.
Suleiman sir, Suleiman Hattarkihal.
Suleiman. Okay. Thank you, Suleiman ji, for your great assistance for making this show successful.
And it's our duty.
There was sometimes there was the net problem, I think so.
Yes.
When I was giving speech.
There was
have people heard the complete speech, or there was any net problem?
No, sir, it was clear.
Video was not streaming properly, sir, but audio was clear.
Because there is.
Sir, I will send you the link. You can watch also. Okay, sir. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you one and all. The feedback link has shared in the comment box, and also we will share in WhatsApp group also. After the submitting feedback form, you can get e-certificate. Thank you.